Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Colonel Iman Faruk stood on the observation ramp of the orbital freighter Artemis, his gaze fixed on the pale blue-green orb below Nova Terra, Earth's newest terraforming experiment. Reports had come in of strange alien vessels skirting the atmosphere and vanishing into the planet's dense mountain ranges. Most analysts predicted an easy skirmish. The Ravagers, supremacy incarnate, would crush a fledgling colony before moving on. Faruk, however, felt a stirring unease. Dr. Ria Tandon hurried up beside him, datapad in hand. "Colonel, we've lost contact with the research station at High Ridge. Their last transmission mentioned unusual animal behavior. The mountain lions they'd been studying are acting oddly coordinated." Faruk frowned. "Coordinated how?" "Pack hunting drills on unmanned drones," Ria replied. "The lions bypassed our safeguards, ambushed the landing craft. It's as if they understood our technology." Below, glinting in the morning sun, the Ravager scout vessel Archerin descended silently through wisps of cloud. Faruk turned away. "I want full defensive sweeps, no surprises." "A deadly greetings." Moments later, Ravager drop pods slammed into the Azon mountain plateau. Metallic thunder echoed through the peaks. 5 hulking soldiers emerged, their natural armor gleaming obsidian. They spread out, weapons humming, scanning for life. Their orders: capture specimens for genetic harvesting. At the edge of the clearing, Ria knelt behind a boulder, linked via neural uplink to her bioengineered lions. Code names: Ember Ash, Ember's mate Flare. She tapped her wrist console. Engage. With a low roar, Ember charged from tree cover. The Ravager nearest him spun too late. Ember's claws tore through synthetic plating like butter. The other soldiers trained their pulse rifles, but Ember ducked behind a rock, vanished. 5 more roars answered. Ash and Flare had flanked from the north. The Ravagers fired indiscriminately, but the lions darted between blasts, dismantling energy packs, severing power conduits. A soldier screamed as burn marks devoured his right arm. Within 90 seconds, every Ravager lay stunned or incapacitated. Ria exhaled. "They did it," she murmured. "They actually did it." Faruk's voice crackled over comms. "What's your status?" "Secured landing zone," Ria replied. "No survivors." Faruk's tone turned grim. "Prepare to reinforce. If they can fight like this here, imagine a full-scale invasion." "Plans of resistance." As Faruk coordinated reinforcements, Ria studied her datapad. The lion's neural link had held under heavy fire. Their natural instincts, augmented by her interface, made them living weapons. She tapped a new command: deploy Squad Delta. In moments, 5 more lions emerged, eyes gleaming. Faruk's relief was tempered by dread. This was only the beginning. Nova Terra's wild beasts, bears, wolves, birds of prey, had evolved alongside one another, forging a balanced ecosystem. Ria believed those same forces could repel the Ravagers. But she also knew the moment the aliens understood Earth's secret weapon, they'd hunt the planet's fauna with even greater cruelty. As shuttles thundered overhead bringing human troops and more beast teams, Faruk made his decision. "Ria," he said, voice soft, "we proceed at dawn. Every mountain, every valley will be armed. The lions hold this ridge and we use them to buy time. Then we show the Ravagers that Earth is not their prize, it's their reckoning." Beneath the alien vessel's shattered hull, Ember crouched, growl fatting as he sensed the human presence. He lifted his head, eyes catching Faruk's silhouette against the rising sun. A silent pact formed, man and beast, united against the galaxy's greatest predator. And so the shadows over Nova Terra became the first proof of Earth's fiercest truth. When the beasts of a world unite, no conqueror can stand. Lieutenant Sarek Idris crouched behind a scrub pine, his pulse rifle raised and trained on the Ravager compound ahead. Through his Neuralink visor, he could see the heartbeat signatures of caged wolves, bears, and even a young lynx trembling in the dim light. Sarek's jaw tightened. These were Earth's natural warriors, captured and experimented on by an enemy that failed to understand the bond between humans and beasts. Tonight, that mistake would cost them dearly. With a silent hand signal, Sarek's 4-man strike team advanced. Each soldier wore the same neural uplink Ria Tandon had developed, allowing them to piggyback on the instincts of trained animals nearby. Tonight's backup came in the form of a pack of gray wolves known as the Moonhowlers. Through his visor, Sarek saw their ethereal forms moving like shadows between the trees, stalking alongside the humans as they breached the perimeter fence with a plasma cutter. Inside the compound, alarms blared as soldiers scrambled. Sarek's team moved swiftly, grenades set to non-lethal concussion mode. The Ravagers fell in tangled heaps of stunned limbs and sparking armor. At the central enclosure, massive steel cages held dozens of animals, each one fitted with tracking collars and small interface modules. Two guards stood at the keypad locking mechanism. Sarek pressed a button on his wrist console. Through the link, he spoke softly to the wolves, distract. Outside the gate, the Moonhowlers responded. Three of them broke into a howl that mimicked distant thunder. The guards spun toward the sound. While they hesitated, Sarek's team slipped through the electronic lock, prying it open before the Ravagers could regain their composure. As the cages hissed open, Sarek and Corporal Yasmin Guevara guided the animals out. Bears lumbered free with careful grace, wolves bounded silently, and a lynx padded around Sarek's boots, its fur bristling. Each creature moved with purpose, instinct sharpened by the neural link. They knew to avoid human handlers, and they knew to target Ravager equipment, communications arrays, power conduits, weapon caches. Ria Tandon watched the operation from her mobile command van, heartbeat racing. She monitored each animal's vitals and neural feedback. So far, the link was holding, but one false spike in cognitive load could overwhelm the beasts, turning them feral or leaving them disoriented. She tapped the console, adjusting the sensory dampeners to reduce information overload. The wolves' guidance signals flickered as they darted through the compound, but the bears held steady, guided by a calm focus fed to them by the interface. Inside the main control hub, Ravager Communications Officer Lyric paused. Lieutenant Idris, he spat in his native growl-like tongue, you humans think you can undermine us with beasts? Laughable. He tapped a codex on his wrist. Deploy the hunters. Beyond the reinforced doors, Ravager bioarmors clanked. 5 newly arrived soldiers stepped forward, each sized for heavy assault. Their weapons glowed as they advanced toward the wolves, which snarled in response. Through the neural link, Ria glimpsed their surprise. Wolves were bold, but charging energy-shielded aliens was unprecedented. Yet the Moonhowlers had learned, avoid frontal assaults, target joints, sensors, and power packs. One wolf leapt and sank its teeth into a leg servo, crippling the alien's movement. Another launched itself at a helmet visor, cracking the plating. Within seconds, 2 Ravagers lay disabled, and the others retreated in confusion. Sarek seized the moment. All teams converge, he barked. More cages opened, releasing hawks, falcons, and even a pair of trained jaguars. The sky filled with raptor silhouettes as they dove on sensor arrays, tearing wires with razor talons. The jaguars padded through smashed gates, isolating stragglers. Ria's neural network throttled each animal's stress signals, ensuring none panicked under fire. Amid the chaos, Sarek moved to the main server core. If he could upload a virus to erase Ravager data on Earth's wildlife, they would cripple any future capture attempts. He crouched by a terminal, connected his wrist console, and initiated the override. Sparks flew as the console's electromagnetic pulse echoed through the compound's wiring. A final shriek from the alarms and the lights went dark. In the sudden blackout, only muzzle flashes and bioluminescent collars glowed. The Ravagers, blinded, fumbled for their weapons. Bears charged, scattering heavy infantry. The wolves formed a ring around the humans, watching their backs. Sarek exhaled, his earpiece crackling with Ria's voice. Override complete, data purge successful. Outside, reinforcements rolled in armored transports, disgorged infantry squads that fanned out to secure the perimeter. As dawn broke, the strike team assembled at the compound's center. Wounded Ravagers lay bound, equipment was intact but useless without data. The liberated animals milled around, some nudging handlers with gentle urgency. Sarek knelt before the lynx, its fur illuminated by morning light. You did good, he whispered. The lynx met his gaze, green eyes intelligent. Ria's soothing tone flowed through the link, excellent performance, returning to command center. As helicopters ferried the human and beast units back to base, Sarek surveyed the rising sun. We've shown them that Earth's wild is no easy prize, he said quietly. Yet even as pride warmed his chest, he remembered Ria's warning. The neural link was powerful but taxing. The more they used it, the greater the strain on both humans and animals. If they relied too heavily on this edge, they risked losing the very bond that made it possible. Back at base camp, Ria welcomed the survivors. She treated minor injuries and monitored the animals' vitals. The wolves slept in orderly packs, the bears rested near handlers, the hawks perched on reinforced frames. Each creature had performed beyond expectation. Yet Ria's eyes were drawn to her console, where a neural load graph still hovered near the red zone. She understood that Earth's greatest strength, the partnership between human ingenuity and nature's raw power, was also its greatest vulnerability. In a dimly lit briefing tent, Colonel Faruk reviewed the live feed footage. He turned to Sarek and Ria. We have our proof of concept, he said. Tonight we defend, tomorrow we expand, but we must refine the link, reduce its burden. We cannot burn out our allies. Sarek nodded, fingers brushing the wolf-tooth talisman at his collar. They're our warriors, he said, but they're not machines, we have to remember that. Rhea closed her eyes, picturing each animal's face. She made a silent promise she would perfect the interface so that humans and beasts could fight side by side without losing their souls to the war. She opened her eyes, resolve shining. We'll do it, she said softly, for them and for Earth. Outside, the moonhowlers howled at the rising moon, a chorus of wild hope echoing across the camp. The hunting ground had awakened, and with it, Earth's fiercest defenders. Admiral Maya Khan watched the sonar array pulse across the command deck of the deepwater cruiser Aegir. The readings showed dozens of fast-moving contacts, Ravager submarines slipping through the trench like shadows. Each vessel bristled with torpedo tubes designed to deploy bioweapon payloads. Earth's undersea defenses had held so far, but this coordinated strike threatened to open a path for the Ravagers to poison the oceans. Khan's jaw set as she tapped a control. Deploy Echo Team, she ordered. Below the surface, marine mammal behaviorist Kane Yu adjusted his Neuralink harness. He floated in the observation bay of the orbital submersible Odyssey, watching through reinforced acrylic as Echo, the orca, circled. Echo's sleek black and white body contrasted sharply with the dim blue light. Yu's visor displayed real-time data, Echo's heart rate, oxygen levels, and neural feedback. The link allowed Yu to share some of Echo's sensory input, echolocation clicks, pressure changes, even emotional states. Tonight, this bond would be Earth's greatest hope beneath the crimson waves. We're ready, Yu reported to Khan over comm. Echo and her pod are in position 50 meters south of the first Ravager sub's approach vector. Khan nodded. She turned to Lieutenant Arjun Patel, her weapons officer. Prepare torpedo escorts, she said. We'll draw them into tankers escorted by orcas. She keyed a second channel. All ships hold fire until the orcas mark the targets. Hundreds of crew members braced as the Odyssey glided toward the Ravager formation. Yu closed his eyes, feeling Echo's anticipation through their link. Her clicks quickened, a sign of excitement mixed with focus. Yu guided her pod of 6 orcas in gentle waves, each wearing a lightweight harness equipped with interface modules. These devices amplified the orcas' hunting instincts and allowed them to target the Ravagers' weak points: sonar arrays, torpedo racks, and propulsion inlets. The Ravager submarines slid into formation around a trench ridge. Their dark hulls bore spines of alien metal. Screens aboard the Aegir lit up with their biometric signatures, cold, calculating, utterly alien. Khan raised a hand. Now. In a silent ballet, Echo's pods surged forward. Their massive tails churned the water into frothing arcs. Each orca emitted a focused barrage of sonar clicks that overloaded the Ravager's sensors. Sonar arrays screamed as they burned out under the barrage. Without warning, Echo launched herself against the first sub's hull, ramming the laminated plating with bone-crushing force. A seam cracked and water hissed into the vessel's interior. Khan's order crackled through the decks. Torpedo launchers engage Target 1. Streaks of dim green light arced from the Aegir and its escort frigates, trailing bubbles as they streaked toward the Ravager sub. Yu felt Echo's delight at the coordinated strike. The link allowed him to reinforce her sense of achievement, strengthening their bond. The torpedoes hit true, the sub shuddered and rocked, then began sinking nose-first into the abyss. But more vessels advanced. Ravager torpedoes streaked toward the Odyssey, locking onto its heat signature. Khan yelled evasive maneuvers. The sub quaked as tethers locked into the trench walls and magnetic thrusters fired. Yu sensed Echo's alarm through the link and countered with calm pressure. We're safe, follow my lead. Guided by his voice, Echo spun and her pod formed a protective arc around the Odyssey. While the Ravagers recovered from the first loss, Patel directed the frigates to create a narrow channel for a fleet of tanker barges carrying specially formulated antidote dispersers. These barges would scatter microscopic neutralizers of the Ravager bioweapon agents. The strategy relied on the orcas to clear the path. As the tankers moved forward, Ravager cruisers targeted the barges with torpedoes. The sonar sensors blinked red. Yu tapped into Echo's neural controls and broadcast a pulse through the pod, attack incoming torpedoes. Lightning fast, Echo and 2 companions intercepted the torpedoes midstream. They slammed against the hulls of the projectiles, their massive bodies absorbing the explosions. One orca was knocked back, but the neural link dampened the shock and Echo's pod pressed on. Khan watched console feeds showing each torpedo destroyed. Excellent work, she murmured. Deploy countermeasures. Escort ships released decoy drones that emitted false acoustic signatures. The Ravager subs fired blindly at shadows, wasting more torpedoes. Beneath the trench floor, Yu monitored Echo's physiological data as the orca surged forward to finish her target. He whispered encouragement through the link. Echo responded with a triumphant series of clicks, then slammed her head into the sub's torpedo bay hatch. The hatch collapsed inward, flooding the chamber. The Ravager vessel's lights flickered and died. With two subs down, the Ravager formation faltered. The tanker line proceeded, releasing the neutralizer. Tiny capsules drifted in the current, dispersing an enzyme that would deactivate the Ravager bioweapon agents if they entered the food chain. Khan allowed herself a brief nod of satisfaction. Earth's oceans would be safe for now. Above the water, the Odyssey surfaced near the Aegir's flight deck. Khan stood by the hatch as Echo and her pod breached the surface in a coordinated leap. Yu climbed out, dripping saltwater, and embraced Khan. "We did it," he said, voice thick with relief. Echo nudged Yu's side as if to share his pride. Khan smiled, then grew serious. "We held them off, but this was only one front. They'll adapt." She looked out at the endless horizon. "We need to refine the link's efficiency. Our allies here are nearly as precious as any marine species. We can't overtax them." Yu nodded. He patted Echo's head gently. Through the neural interface, he could feel her calm contentment. "I'll adjust the protocols," he promised. "We'll find a way to share only critical intel, reduce cognitive load." The Admiral's voice came over the comm again. "Prepare for debrief. We launch again at dawn." Khan turned to Yu. "Rest if you can. We have a long fight ahead." As the night breeze ruffled their jackets, Echo's pod circled the ships, a living shield beneath the crimson twilight. Each splash echoed the promise that Earth's seas would never bow to invasion. And in the hush before dawn, Khan and Yu watched the orcas dance, resolute symbols of a world that refused to be conquered. Air Marshal Zara Singh stood on the catwalk of the Sky Fortress Aviar, her eyes fixed on the endless cloud layer below. Ravager drones had begun to penetrate Earth's aerial perimeter, their cloaking fields making them nearly invisible to radar. Traditional interceptors struggled to lock on. Singh adjusted the neural uplink headset over her ears. Today would be the first live deployment of the Hawk and Vulture squadrons. She tapped her comm link. "All wings, report status." In the valleys below, Raptor handlers released their squadrons. 80 trained Hawks and 50 Vultures took to the air, each outfitted with lightweight harnesses carrying tracking and targeting modules. Through Zara's visor, she saw their heat signatures flicker as they ascended. She connected to the Hawk unit codenamed Skyshade. The link allowed her to share her visual feed and receive the Hawk's acuity. She guided Skyshade toward the first drone vector. Lieutenant Sarek Idris, fresh from the successful ground raids, monitored the Sky Fortress from a relay station. He and Zara had shared a neural link test yesterday, but today would be their first coordinated mission. Sarek watched the drones appear as pale blurs on the horizon. "Target 1 approaching from northwest," he reported. His voice crackled in Zara's headset. Through the link, Skyshade's heartbeat raced. Zara fed calm signals, then whispered, "Lock on the faint heat signature near that cloud bank." The Hawk adjusted its flight path, talons flexing. Without warning, the first cloaked drone swooped in. It fired an energy pulse at the fortress, piercing the outer shield and showering sparks across the deck. Alarms blared. Zara cursed and yelled, "Hawks, engage!" The birds darted forward with inhuman speed. Skyshade struck first, talons plunging into the drone's sensor array. Sparks flew as wires severed. The drone listed, then crashed into the clouds below. Vultures circled in wide arcs, their powerful beaks tearing at exposed conduits. More drones dove in, strafing the fortress with laser fire. The Aviar shuddered, but its crew held fast. Zara directed additional Hawk squadrons to target the drone's cloaking modules. Each Hawk knew to avoid direct confrontation. Their role was to disable the technology that hid the enemy. 3 Hawks in perfect synchrony tore through the front panel of another drone, ripping out its cloaking projector. The vessel flickered into view, then spiraled out of control and fell. Meanwhile, Sarek watched several Vultures descend on a drone that had evaded the initial assault. The Vulture, codenamed Stonewing, landed on the drone's wing, pinion feathers bristling. With a powerful shake, Stonewing yanked a panel free and carried it off, disabling the drone's primary thruster. It crashed into a mountain slope, erupting in a plume of smoke. Sarek allowed himself a small smile. Vultures thrived on dismantling carrion, and on dismantling Ravager tech they were equally adept. Zara's visor highlighted a new wave of drones heading towards sea level. She alerted Captain Leigh Mendoza, the Aviar's flight coordinator. "Launch Falcon Escort," she ordered. Mendoza nodded and dispatched 4 modified Falcon drones to support the birds. The Falcons provided electronic jamming and fire suppression. Together, living raptors and mechanical guardians formed a unique shield. High above the clouds, a Ravager recon wing hovered. Their leader, Pilot Vrix, tapped his wrist console. Marshal Singh underestimates avian countermeasures, he said through the ship's comm. Deploy Meteor Swarm. The Ravager ship released dozens of microdrones shaped like needles. They radiated sharp pulses designed to shred wing membranes. Zara spotted the threat. All wings defensive formation, she called. Through the link, Skyshade and three other hawks banked left, creating a rotating shield with their bodies. The Vulture squads tightened formation, their broad wings flapping in unison. The microdrones crashed against feathered barriers, shattering harmlessly. A few struck the Falcon drones instead, their jamming fields absorbed the blasts. Mendoza rerouted power to shields and the mechanical Falcons moved in to intercept the rest. Infuriated, Vrix ordered a direct assault. His recon wing dived, energy cannons blazing. Most squads dove out of the path, but one Vulture Taloncrest misjudged the timing and took a grazing shot across its wing. It spiraled downward. Zara's heart pounded. Through the link she felt the Vulture's shock and pain. She broadcast healing frequency protocols and guided Taloncrest away from danger. Sarek, monitoring from below, saw its heat signature flicker. He adjusted his AUG tablet to override the safety net and reinforce the bird's own reflex arcs. Taloncrest regained control, wobbled, then soared back into formation. The battle raged for 10 minutes that stretched into an eternity. Every time the Ravagers adjusted tactics, the Raptor pilots and their human commanders adapted. Zara marveled at the bird's instinctive sense of strategy. They read the drone's movements like hunting prey. The Falcon escorts provided cover fire. Sarek relayed intel on emerging threats. The Aviar crew watched in awe as living and mechanical wings danced across the sky. At last, the Ravager recon wing neared depletion. Their drones lay scattered across Earth's stratosphere. Pilot Vrix issued the retreat code. The vessels cloaked and fled beyond radar range. Zara exhaled, relief washing over her. She turned to Sarek's relay. Excellent work down there. Looks like we hold the sky tonight. Sarek's voice crackled back, tired but triumphant. You too, those hawks and vultures, they're nature's true aces. Below, the handlers called their birds home. Hawks landed on gloved fists, vultures settled on perches rigged to absorb their weight. Zara removed her neural link, muscles aching. She nodded to Mendoza. We proved it works. Skis are ours. In the hangar, Sarek met Zara and Kane Yu, fresh from the undersea victory, and Dr. Ria Tandon, who offered data on stress levels and neural loads. Together, they reviewed performance graphs. The birds had risen to the challenge, but their neural fatigue markers were near the caution threshold. Ria frowned. We must optimize the link, reduce redundant signals, focus on threat vectors, protect their instincts. Zara placed a hand on a gloved Falcon's flank. The bird tilted its head, curious. We'll get it right, she said softly. You've earned your rest. As the sun dipped below the clouds, the Aviar stood triumphant in its high perch. Earth's sky, once vulnerable, now bristled with wings. And in those talons, Zara felt the promise of a world stubbornly refusing to bow. The Saharan sun pressed down like a living thing, rippling heat across endless dunes. Colonel Aman Faruk surveyed the crash site through heat filter goggles. The Ravager flagship had plowed into the desert at dawn, its hull half buried in sand. Twisted metal and smoking vents marked its descent. Earth's command had ordered an immediate retrieval of alien tech. Any data on bioweapon dispersal, cloaking fields, or neural scanners could turn the tide. Faruk's team assembled before him. Lieutenant Sarek Idris, Dr. Ria Tandon, and desert ecologist Dr. Enzo Marcel, along with a squad of Sandwolf hybrid units. These hybrids were the culmination of Ria's latest neural interface experiments. Juvenile desert wolves had been bred with selected genes from North American timber wolves to tolerate heat and sand. Their lean bodies, golden fur flecked with darker streaks, moved like living dust across dunes. Each wore a harness bearing interface nodes and lightweight armor plates that shielded their flanks without slowing their sprint. Faruk approached the lead hybrid, codenamed Dune, rubbing its broad muzzle. You're our scout, he whispered. Dune's pale eyes flickered and the link buzzed in Faruk's comm earpiece, ready. Ria held a datapad. We'll split into 2 teams, she said. Sarek, you and your team secure the landing zone perimeter. Enzo and I will extract data cores. The hybrids stay with me. The wolf pack padded forward, focusing on far-off ridges. Each animal's sweat glands and neural sensors would detect hidden Ravager traps, buried energy mines, cloaked mines, or dormant drones. Faruk nodded. Move fast. Ravager reinforcements could arrive any time. Sarek led the infantry down a shallow Wadi's channel. Heat-tolerant gear clung to their skin. They planted sensor beacons around the crash site, mapping a secure perimeter in overlapping fields. Through their own neural uplinks, they sensed Dune's silent warnings, minefield ahead in the sand. Sarek halted his team, hold position. He tapped his gauntlet, marking danger zones. The infantry rerouted, avoiding hidden charges. Minutes later, Farrukh quirked an eyebrow as drones from the flagship's automated defense turret swooped into view, only to flare and crash as Dune and two other hybrids lunged, detaching drones' power packs in swift bites. The remains tumbled into the sand, smoke rising. Inside the wreck, molten wires glowed where the hull had split. Ria and Enzo crouched beside a shattered console. Enzo brushed aside sand. These connectors aren't human standard. We need to carefully map the neural interface module. He freed a data core the size of a fist embedded in a bracket. Ria inserted a translator probe. Sparks danced as the probe aligned alien protocols. I'm halfway through decryption, she said. It's neural signature data for controlling local wildlife, among other things. She tapped commands. If we glean their targeting algorithms, we can refine our own link. Behind them, Dune circled the hull's rear. Its neural link fed Ria environmental scans and biological samples from the wreck's thermocoolant. Ria transmitted calm signals to Dune, keeping the hybrid focused. Sand stung her face, but she ignored it. Almost there, she muttered, sweat trickling under her goggles. Suddenly, Enzo's radio crackled, incoming reinforcements. Twilight fell and dozens of Ravager dropships emerged on the horizon, dark shapes beating toward the desert floor. Farrukh's voice came through. We have company. Handle extraction, Ria, she acknowledged, securing the data core in a protective case. Dune crouched, hackles rising. Through the link, Ria whispered, prepare to delay. Dune responded with a low growl that vibrated in Ria's headset. Outside, the hybrids readied. Dune, Sand, and Imberklo, a smaller but agile runt, dashed forward. Dune's paws struck the sand in measured beats. He triggered the flagship's residual defense grid, energy sentries that activated at proximity. Dune seized the nearest sentry's power node and clamped his jaws around it. Sparks flared as he tore it from its housing. That action triggered a cascade. Other sentries powered down or misfired, sending bursts of energy into the air that plowed trenches in the sand. Sarek and his squad laid down suppressive fire at the arriving dropships. Their neural uplinks highlighted drone silhouettes emerging from the landers. Infantry rockets and Dune's pack disrupted the Ravager landing sequence. A dropship's landing leg collapsed as Imberklo bit through a stabilizer conduit. The ship rocked and expelled soldiers before it could secure its footing. Farrukh arrived in a Dune buggy as Ravager soldiers stumbled out, weapons drawn. He dismounted, rifle raised. Hold them off until data secured, he shouted. Wolves scattered in precise patterns, herding the aliens into pockets where Sarek's riflemen intercepted them. Each hybrid used hit-and-dig tactics, pausing to sniff at neural signatures, then darting away to avoid return fire. Ria watched their movements ghost-like, a dance of predator and prey reversed. In the ruins of the flagship's communication tower, the team regrouped. Ria connected the alien data core to a portable decryptor. Codes scrolled, bioweapon agent release schedules, cloud seeding coordinates, cloaking field frequencies, and neural command hierarchies. She grinned. We've got everything we came for. She tapped a summary file to Farrukh's tablet. Their system could be repurposed to shield our wildlife units, give them temporary cloaking when they approach sensitive targets. Farrukh studied the readout. Good work. He glanced at the horizon where the remaining dropships hovered. Extraction now. Sarek hustled the hybrids and infantry toward the Dune buggy convoy. Enzo carried 2 sealed data cores. Ria stayed by Dune, punishing wind-tugging sand at her boots. The Ravager response was brutal. Energy pulses raked the dunes, sending geysers of sand skyward. A bolt scorched near Ria's feet. Dune leapt between her and the fire, harness nodes glowing as Ria's signal reinforced his courage. She pressed a button on her console, cloaking engage. Dome generators sealed around the hybrids and humans, bending light to the desert's hue. The raiders' pulses hit the barrier and dispersed in shimmering arcs. Under the cloak, the team sprinted across dunes to the last buggy. Sarek helped Enzo aboard. Farrukh and Ria slid in behind. At full throttle, they traced a sinuous path back to the base's hidden landing pad. Dune and the pack bounded alongside the convoy, unshrouded once safe. Back at camp, Farrukh watched the dunes fade in the buggy's rearview. Wolves padded off to enclosed pens where they would rest and feed. Ria held the data cores like salvation. This will change everything, she breathed. Enzo clapped Farrukh on the shoulder. Desert's finest, he laughed, nodding to Dune. Dune barked once, sand flying. Sarek removed his neural link and offered Ria a water canteen. She accepted, letting cool liquid seep down her throat. Next, we adapt these modules for cold climates, she said. Polar bears, penguins, you name it. Farrukh smiled tiredly. Earth's entire biosphere will be armed, he said, and Ravagers won't know what hit them. As the sun dipped below the dunes, the heart of the storm finally stilled. Data secured, hybrids intact, humans and beasts triumphant, Earth had proven that its wild heart could weather any siege. But Farrukh knew this victory was only one battle in a war for survival. And when the next storm came, they would stand ready, man and beast together, guardians of a planet that refused to bow.